The kids think it's great because it's their technology.
You can pretty much give this to a class of students and 90% of them know how to use these.
The best thing about it is that you can build your own content. You can tailor-make it for yourself.
The PSP as a device, there's nothing else there that you could actually use that would do the same, and therefore it has a real place in education and it has a real benefit to the learning of the young people.
Our children are using technology every day as part of their everyday lives. And there is a disconnect between how they use technology out of school and the experience they have in school.
You don't want a child to walk into the class and walk backwards in time and not use the technology that they use once they walk out of the class.
I wanted to see how we could look at what PlayStation does and see if we could bring some of that technology into the classroom. When I looked at the PSP, then I found that I had the world's best media player. And forget the games, because the games are not important right now for education. The thing that's most important is that we're using something which uses open standard technology and can deliver it to kids on a device which they understand and they know how to use.
With PSPs, when we bought those, when we put them in, we just were not sure. We were actually reasonably content that no, they wouldn't work, that they would be a flash in the pan, that students would play with them because it was a novelty, and then they'd be put to one side and have no effect. Now, in the 12 months that we've been engaged with it, we have seen absolutely no evidence that these will ever be put aside.
Obviously the Royal Navy, along with all the armed forces, are very operational at the moment, and we need to be able to reach our people using all different kinds of innovation and all different kinds of e-media. Certainly the mobile type has got its advantages when we use it with our personnel.
I think there's some hurdles we have to get over before PSP, in fact any mobile device, can be used in school. But at the moment I think there's maybe some fear that it's something which is slightly more distractive, and I think we need to get over those, and I think the only way we can do that is by getting teachers to define how they use the product in the classroom.
I'm Alison Carter and I'm the Deputy Head at Longwell, which is the School for the Deaf in Birmingham. The PSP has a great quality image and it takes signing beautifully. And that's what we were very, very interested in. It had to be high quality, it had to be robust. We thought that the PSPs could be really useful tools for homeschool liaison, for teaching children in their first language. Because of the video capture facility for the camera at the top, the first language use was going to be really important. We can connect the PSP up to the interactive whiteboard, and the child then sees themselves and is much more able to talk about, you know, what they've done, what's been going on in their lives. So it's a prompt as well as a great visual stimulus, and that has enabled the teachers to actually see evidence of children talking competently about home life, and they've sort of been able to get the second point on the foundation stage profile, which actually is a really measurable outcome of how valuable the PSPs are.
My mum and dad thinks it's fantastic because it's really simple, it's easy to use, I can get more work done. I can show them at school what I've been doing at home, and then I can show my mum and dad what I've been doing at school, and they can see what interesting things we've been up to. And it really has engaged parents phenomenally. Fathers especially, I think, have quite enjoyed the sort of gadgety, techie aspect of it all. And this is, you know, there's a big national push to get fathers engaged in their pupils' learning, and it really has had great results here for us. It's interesting now. Before it, you know, it was a bit boring and, you know, doing my spellings. Now it's really interesting because I get to do my spellings on the PSP. And I've still got to work, I've still got to learn, but I can use my PSP to help me.
Everyone said, no, it won't work. It won't work. You know, they'll get lost, they'll get stolen, they'll get broken. And to date, touch wood, we haven't lost or had anything broken. Everything's coming every day, and it's because the children can see the value in it. They rate them, they see the value in it, they see how it's helping them with their learning. And so they're bringing them in and looking after them.
When we have maybe a PowerPoint slideshow where the teacher wants to give a set of instructions to the students, we can save them as JPEG files, download them onto the PSPs, and the students have some learning content to refer to. The other thing we've adapted is the use of the cameras on the PSPs, particularly for projects in the sports department, where they're maybe creating a DVD showing fitness techniques to develop, or we have our elite gymnasts when they're training for competition. They can use the PSP with the camera, and they can freeze frame and review when they're actually doing the practice, the quality of the what they're producing.
Some of the pupils that always turn up without the kit, you know, sort of sit in the corner, don't take part in the lesson, they've been using the PSPs to re-engage those pupils. So those pupils are now part of the lesson. They're in charge of doing the videos, and then it doesn't just stop there. They have to then take part in the peer assessment. So they talk to the other students whose performance they've been recording, make suggestions on how they could improve the performance.
To be honest, it is such a user-friendly device to use that there was no major learning curve issues with even staff picking it up. And even those that weren't too sure, the students are more than happy to demonstrate and show to staff. And I don't think there's any harm in that. As teachers, we also got to set examples to students as learners that we don't know everything necessarily, and there's a lot of benefit of students being able to teach teachers something as well. I think the students like that aspect of it as well, being able to teach us a thing or two.
I can see that it just will be a piece of equipment that you use for a specific task, the same as you would use a test tube in science, the same as you would use a palette of paints in art. It will just become a normal part of school life.
I don't use them every single lesson. They're not something that's going to replace paper and pen and books. I still use all those things, but every now and again, when something can be delivered more effectively with the PSPs, I'll use them.
The PSP is there, whereas homework you just forget about it, and this is more exciting, and it remind you, and then you could play games on the internet, and then you remember that you've got geography homework.
Field trips are the main bonus with PSPs. I never took a camcorder on a residential trip, but now I will take a bag full of PSPs and dish them out to the students. They're so robust, they're not going to get broken. The students do focus on what they should be filming, and they evaluate more as well. They do video diaries, so they've got to evaluate what they're seeing and how much they're enjoying it and what they're learning, and they do it naturally. I'm not having to encourage them to evaluate, they just are doing it because there's a camera there and it's so easy to access, and because they're enthused by it.
PSPs are more for our generations today.
With a laptop you have to turn it on and it takes slow to load up, whereas as a PSP you just have to put it on and it's already loaded.
I don't think there's anything that does everything, but I have rarely seen an educational tool that has captured students so much and then for such a long period of time.
If you're just using it purely as a gaming console, you're actually not using it and exploiting it to its fullest potential. I think teachers are excellent at creating their own resources that are actually completely personalised to that child, and the great thing about the PSP is you can do that.
When you actually show them, you can put other content on or access websites and web pages, or they can be creative with it with the camera attachment. It does open up their minds to the potential of what the devices can do, and what a lot of them have got sitting at home they can actually bring in and use in school.
I don't worry about handing them out to any class now. I know it's going to improve their learning, their enjoyment, their experience.
I'm actually kind of excited that there is real potential, that the aims and objectives that we've looked at for so long are just there. You know, we have the technology that we can meet those, but we need to take the risk, we need to be imaginative, we need to go forward on this and recognise the potential.